We've got our first green card, back to commons here. Grand Pulse Ochu. Also, we have colorless cards, actually. We usually colorless before, but we didn't cover this. So colorless after
Yeah,
green.
new lands, yeah.
Yeah, so Green Pulse Ochu is a green mana 1/1 Death Touch and has a 8 mana ability. Until end of turn, this creature gets +1/+1 for each permanent card in your graveyard.
Yeah, I don't think that ability means too much. I still okay with this card. We both gave it a C minus.
Yep, totally. Commune with Beavers. Ooh, it's our Canadian invitational card here. So single grade mana for a sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Reveal an artifact, creature, or land from them. Put it into your hand. Rest go on the bottom in any order.
This hits enough that it should be playable. So, I mean, I gave it a C minus. You gave it a C.
Mm-hmm.
Does it replace a land?
Yeah, I
Maybe.
think that's what I would the slot I would put it in. Like, I don't think you want too many of these. There's not like a ton of green reasons to want a lot of spells. So I think just like the first one replacing a non-forest is a C in my deck is kind of the way I look at it.
Red Mage's Rapier, baby.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, the I give it an A, but all right. We've got Gooblu Gardener. This is 1 and a green for a 1/3. Tap to add green.
No fixing,
Yeah,
not good at blocking birds. I gave it a D plus. You gave it a C minus. Not excited about this.
yeah. You really want your mana dorks to make multiple colors or do something else, and this is just a bit boring, bit vanilla. Chocobo Kick is 1 and a green for a sorcery. It's got Kicker. You can return a land you control to its owner's hand. It says target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls, and if it was kicked, it deals double that damage.
I found this kind of tough to evaluate because sorcery makes me really dislike it, but it does, punch up and re-trigger landfall potentially. And I have a land drop that turn otherwise, so not sure where to go this. So I ended up on C minus. You ended up on C, so pretty similar, but I don't know if there's more you want to add about it.
Yeah, there was the card from Merges of Markov Manor where we graded that one low, I think. Karlov Manor, sorry, getting a year and a half in, getting the set wrong still. We graded that one pretty low, and I think that's a pretty similar card. That one was like +2/+0 if you gathered evidence, or it was 2 mana if you gathered evidence. And it was like 4 mana generally. I think this card's fairly similar. Obviously, picking up a land I think is a fairly big cost, even though it can be a downside at times. There's an upside at times. So I don't know. I think it's just a fine spell. I don't dislike any more than any other like punch spell generally.
Sure.
Next up is Gishal Green. So 1 and a green for a sorcery. Make a 2/2 bird with that +1/+0 landfall ability. Flashback for 7 mana.
That flashback is so fake.
So you think it's fake? Really? I mean, it's pricey.
That's what I mean. Like it's like hey, this is better than what it seems like. But is it really? Like, are you ever going to be excited to be like, okay, I hit my 7th land drop?
Hell yeah, 2/2.
Yeah. We both gave it a C. It's a fine card, but I don't think the flashback really matters.
Sure, yeah, I'll give you that. Okay, here's a trick that you've been kind of alluding to. Blitzball Shot, green mana, 1 and a green, 2 mana, instant. Target creature gets +3/+3 and trample until end of turn. So good trick.
Yeah, and I mean, chat mentioned it because I didn't, but the last card again, it's a spell that makes a creature, so it triggers Red Mage's Rapier.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
This one though, we've seen this be good pretty much every time. I think it was underrated in MKM, and like I talked about it on the streamer call that I host, and people weren't really playing it then at the time. But +3/+3 and trample for 2 mana has always just been a good rate, and I think green's quite good at pushing damage. So I'm looking at this as a key.
Yep. I'm in for it.
You gave it, of course, all's more optimistic. You gave it a C. I gave it a C minus.
Town Greeter, another card we've been talking about without naming for this entire set review. 1 and a green for a 1/1. When it enters, you mill 4 cards. You can put a land from among them into your hand. If a town card is put into your hand this way, you gain 2 life. So pretty strong variant of this effect.
I didn't move any commons into the straight B range, and if I had, it would have been like the shock or this one, and probably if it was just one, this is my vote top common.
Yeah, yeah, this is nice. Like it's kind of everything you want. Like not only is it getting you a land, getting you life, like that's two resources, but the one one's an actual real thing in this set. Like there are a lot of X ones, and you can put in equipment on this, and if you have to chump block with it, sure. Um, yeah, yeah. What do we end up giving it?
We both gave it a B minus, but yeah, between flashback and milling permanence and gaining life with towns and being able to be equipped, yeah,
Yeah, good card, good card. Preshi's Wanderings. This is 2 and a green for an instant. Search your library for a basic land or a town card. Put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. When you search your library this way, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control.
I was kind of hoping we'd have a disagreement about this because I thought this was like really interesting card. So maybe we could. But anyway, gave it a C minus though. I think people who've played a lot of limited might underrate this. Would
Yeah.
you agree with that?
Yeah, because it looks like a lot of bad cards, basically. Right? And I think that counter is a pretty big deal. Kind of the
It's
same.
not that. Yeah, it's. I was just gonna say it's not that hard to make the counter affect combat, either like winning trade.
Hmm.
If this ever affects combat, the card is like really good.
Right. And I actually liked this card before I realized it was an instant, honestly. Like, I saw it was an instant on, like, my third read or something, and I was like, oh, wow, okay, I'm into it.
Because you can just leave it up. Like even if they're not attacking into you, the threat of open mana is something your opponent has to play around. And then it's like, okay, you played around it, I didn't use it, but I've avoided it. Also, like if you play one of the bird makers on turn 2, you're threatening to attack as like a 5/3
Yeah.
on turn 3 as a surprise.
And then your flashback of 7 mana is not that far away. There you go. You get to make that less
For
of a...
sure, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay, so what do we want to give it?
We both gave it a C minus. I also really like that it has the avoid getting blown out wording. So you search first and then you get the counter. And so if
Yep,
your creature dies, you still get the land.
totally.
And it allows you to put in like utility towns potentially. So there are some towns that are a little bit questionable as includes for main deck inclusion. If it's something you can actually tutor out and have like for that, I'm a lot more interested in some of the filler looking towns that we're going to get to at the end.
Yeah, no, I totally co-sign all of that. Loperit Scout is a 3 mana 3/2. It says whenever another creature you control enters, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
I really like cards like this just because it incentivizes something like this is just a green white card, right? Like it's just go wide, but
Yes.
if you're going wide and if you're doing that, it actually does that thing pretty well, and only the one deck wants it.
Right. Yes. Like, if you can play this into the make 3 tokens, that's not a bad curve. Attacking
Yeah,
for 6. Opponent probably has to jump.
yeah, not going to come up often. We both gave it a D plus.
Yep, agree. Bard's Bow is a 3 mana job select. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 in reach. And the equip cost, ooh, steep on this one. It's 6. So you've got a 3 mana 3/3 reach that you're basically only gonna equip. Well, no, I was gonna say only gonna equip if you're like protecting against a flyer. But like, if it's your only mana sink, it's to find mana sink.
Well, it's kind of the same thing where it's at the point of the game where you're using sync, your opponent might be doing much more powerful things.
Yeah, exactly.
I do think that there's enough reasons to like equipment in this set that I liked it more than you. So you gave it a C minus, and I ended up on a C for Bard's Bow.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair enough for me. Airship Crash is a 2 and a green instant. says destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying, cycling 2. So I often kind of relegate this to the D sideboard tier. I think there's probably enough going on in this set and cycling that I didn't quite put it in the garbage tier this time around.
I was with you. I gave it a D plus. You gave it a C minus. Yeah, between equipment, saga creatures, flyers, it might have enough targets to be kind of like in Ether Drift where we had the thing hitting. Might be the case here too.
Yeah, I agree. Next up is Gigantoad. It's 4 mana for a 4/4, and as long as you control 7 or more lands, this creature gets +2/+2. Kind of very vanilla, not that exciting.
Gigantoad, probably.
Gigantoad? Yeah, that sounds more right.
I would guess, but I mean that's about the most exciting thing about this card. We both gave it a D plus. It's not great.
Yeah. Okay, here's a great name. Summon Fat Chocobo. This is 4 and a green for a 4/4 saga creature. 4 chapters here. First one, you make a Chocobo token, 2/2 with landfall, +1/+0. Chapter 3, 4, and or 2, 3, 4, creatures you control gain trample until end of turn. I like this card. So it's like make a 4/4 and a 2/2, and your creatures have trample for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, attacks for 7 twice across 2 bodies, and
Yeah.
everything has trample. Red green and white green for sure are gonna want this. Green black, it's again it's a permanent, so probably will too. I'm just not sure about blue.
Yeah. I agree. I think I think it's probably not enough of a stat monster on its own to just put in like your blue green deck where you have no synergy, you don't care as much about attacking. Fine there, but not just like, yeah, every green deck wants this still. But if you're at all attacking, if you're red green, like anything in the Naya space, red green, green white, I think this card's gonna be really good.
Yeah, you gave it a C plus, and I think I probably should have joined you. I ended up giving it a C.
Yeah, cool. All right, next is finally the last of the land cyclers, and certainly not the least, Balam T Rexor. So this is 4 green green for a 6/6 trample. When it enters, you gain 3 life, and if you want to, if you're missing lands, you can force cycle for 2 mana. This card's just good. Like what's going on here? How is this cycle designed?
The firstborn of the land cyclers that ate all the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is even without the forest cycling, this would be really good. This card's great. You gave it a B minus, which I totally respect. I gave it a C plus.
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. It's going to bring us to the uncommons now, green uncommons. First up is Tifa's Limit Break, which is a tiered spell. So for 1 green mana, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. For 2 and a green, double target creature's power and toughness until end of turn. And for 6 green green, you can triple target creature's power and toughness until end of turn.
Plays kind of nicely with the Fat Chocobo, and because things already have trample and you're having your there. It's gonna be tough. Like 1 mana +2/+2 is not a good rate. And for 3 mana trick to be a good rate, you kind of need it to give like +5/+5.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Because like +4/+4 for 3 mana is not that exciting.
Right. I give it a little bit of grace because, like, I don't. Basically, I see this as like in the early turn, +2/+2 might be a fine thing. Like, it's not the worst. You can double spell in turn 3 or 4. But then with green's huge creatures like the Fat Chocobo or the 6/6 we just looked at, like that's gonna end a lot of games just on its own, right? Just like trampling for 8 or trampling for 12.
Yeah, I see the spots for it. I just don't see that coming up often enough to make it into the C range.
Yeah.
When I had it at D plus, you gave it a C.
Yeah, I guess, you said you weren't that happy about +2/+2 for 1 mana. I also am like kind of okay with that. I don't know. I feel like that's fine as long as the card does something else. So.
Well, I mean, Giant Growth was last printed in Brothers War, and it was like a bad card.
Sure, yeah, not very good. I just think like if it does something else, it's acceptable. That's all I'm saying.
But is the other thing more than Giant Growth, which is like +2? Because your thing has to be, if your base is worse than Giant Growth, your other thing that it does has to be better than Giant Growth.
Right. Yeah, and I think it is. Like I think it'll end enough games with the big trampoline things. That's my take currently.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll leave it there.
Yeah, for sure. Next up is Cactuar. This is really cool. I love this card. This is single green mana for a 3/3 trample. At the beginning of your end step, if this creature didn't enter the battlefield this turn, return it to its owner's hand. So, sort of like the red versions we've seen of this, but you get a block in each cycle.
Right. Which makes a big difference, and there's a chance that you don't have to recast it every turn.
Pow? What do you mean?
If you just play a 2-drop,
Uh-huh.
it stays in play, and then if you play a 3-drop, it stays in play, and then if you play a 4-drop, it stays in play.
If this creature didn't enter.
Oh!
Yeah, not if a creature didn't enter.
That's reading comprehension. Okay. Okay.
But
I thought this card was really good. Okay.
it's still pretty good,
Reading the
though, I
card
think.
explains the card. I understand now. Okay, yeah, so you do just get one combat and then it comes.
Yeah.
All right.
It's still good, though, I
For some
think,
reason,
right?
I still graded it lower than you, which means that clearly my even though my mind didn't understand it, my subconscious did.
Of course.
Yeah, so you gave this a C plus, which I can still understand. I still think it's a good card, and I gave it a C.
That is pretty funny, though. That even with that, you graded it lower than I did. Clash of the Icons. This is a single green mana for a sorcery. Choose one or more. Either fight target creature you control, fight something your opponents control, remove a lore counter from a saga you control, or put a lore counter on a saga you control. And I don't think this has come up within the course of this review, but when you put a lore counter on something, it triggers the next ability of whatever saga you're targeting.
Right, and you can choose multiple of these, and then you can also target the same saga with the second and third ability to just re-trigger a chapter.
Yeah, that's cool. So fights generally, we're pretty iffy on fights rather than bites. Like a fight is a pretty big downgrade. Does the rest of the card make up for it?
I think so. I'm interested in this. I actually went higher than you on this one. You gave this a C. I gave this a C plus.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see it. Like there are some chapters that are just like, holy crap. You know, I mean, just for example, the Fat Chocobo, just making another 2/2 when you cast this, like that's pretty good if you can line things up like that.
And it gives you another turn of attacks.
Yeah.
Too,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I could see being a little bit too low on it. I like that card. Saz Chocobo is single green mana for an 0/1, and landfall. You put a +1/+1 counter on this creature.
I struggle to grade this. It could be anywhere from kind of medium to absolutely like B. It could be I could see this being like a B plus, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
We ended up both giving it C plus, which I think reflects its upside, but it snowballs pretty hard, and it's not that hard to trigger even pretty late into.
Right, yeah, especially because there are a lot of cards in this set that just help you continue landfalling. I think they did a good job of making that so it's just like, okay, turn 5. Like you can imagine a lot of sets if there's landfall cards, turn 5 they don't really trigger much, but I think that's not going to be the case here. And when you play this in your opener, yeah, it's absurd. So I think it's probably, I would say it's like I might be a little bit low on it even. Like I could see this creeping into the B range. I think this card's really good.
I kind of regret not giving it a B minus.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, look, we both regret it. We can both wallow in that and move on to the next card, which is Side Quest. Raise a Chocobo, which is 1 and a green for an enchantment. Make a 2/2 Chocobo token. And at the beginning of your main phase, if you control 4 or more birds, so that's this plus 3 other birds, you transform it into, there we go. Transform it into a 2/2 that says when this transforms into a black Chocobo, search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle, and it's got the Chocobo landfall ability.
Beginning of your first main means you need to go an entire turn cycle with them still in play, though.
Yeah, I rated this one optimistically high, but yeah, I think what you just said there is a really big knock against it. Because if it's about to flip, and your opponent thinks it's an issue, like it's not that hard to take out a 2-2. It also means you're probably not like attacking with a ton of 2-2s, or you're not attacking because something would trade off. So I could see that like this is a true build around or like synergy card where if you're the deck and you have all the cards that are good in this deck, it's probably gonna be pretty good. But like it's just gonna be a 2-2 otherwise.
Yeah, I think this is just the same as the flashback thing, where like the upside on
Sure.
whatever else it is just almost irrelevant, but it's also just like not that bad of a 2 drop because it's a 2/2 that attacks as a 3/2 or maybe even a
Yeah.
4/2
Yeah.
and triggers all your non-creature spell stuff. So I gave it a C. You gave it a pretty aggressive B minus.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I want to clarify because people are saying it's like, and you just said it's just a 2-2. Like, is it really like that bad? You really have to build around it in the sense that it's not going to be better than. I mean, it's going to be worse than the common variant if you're not truly like the deck doing the thing. That's all. Next up is Ride the Shoe Puff. This is 1 and a green for an enchantment. It has landfall, and it says when a land enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. You can also pay 7 mana to make this enchantment into a 7/7 creature, just permanently.
We are 5 grades apart for this.
One of the bigger ones, yeah, yeah. So I looked at this card at first and I was like, I hate this card. I don't think this kind of card is very good. It never has been. I think that 7 mana mode makes it quite a different card, though. Like, so number one, I think landfall is support in this set where you're triggering it pretty often. And two, like the big thing with this kind of card is like you just don't draw in your opening hand, and it's so bad. And like it's just being a 7/7 at some point, I think is a pretty big deal.
But what turn are you gonna play this?
Probably on turn 2, which I know is not sound ideal, but like you want to get max land. Like basically, I think it's worth not playing a 2-drop to get max counters on whatever you have.
But if you don't play a 2 drop, you're also not getting a trigger for your third land because you can't get it on your
Well,
three
that's
drop.
when you play your 2-drop. Yeah, yeah, no, you're right, you're right. Yeah, I guess I could still just be over. Like, yeah, I like my idea of it gets better, much better because it has the 7 mana ability, but maybe the effect, the baseline effect, just kind of sucks.
Yeah, I mean, you ended up on C+ for this. I was on D minus.
Yeah.
Maybe it's somewhere in the middle of
Yeah,
that, but
I bet
you
it's
know,
somewhere in the middle, probably. I also would be. I would bet your like if only one of our grades is right, I would bet it's you, not me, on this one.
why? Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. Next up is Torgal, a fine hound. Just a fine hound. Totally fine. 2 mana 2/2, legendary creature. Taps to add a mana of any color, so we like that. And whenever you cast your first human spell each turn, that creature enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each dog and or wolf you control. And this is a wolf.
Yeah, and there are a couple other dogs and wolf, and there's a bunch of humans.
Yeah. Yeah, I like this card.
Card's great.
Yeah, very
Yeah, we
good.
both give it a B. Card's great.
Yeah, not much else to say. Galuf's final act is 1 and a green for an instant. Until in a turn, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains. When this creature dies, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to its power on up to one target creature. So is this another card you could maybe see playing in some sort of green-red deck?
I don't think so. So
Mm,
you gave this a D+. I went all the way down to D for this one.
okay.
I'm not sure if I included this on my like bonus red green side, but like I think I might have taken it off if I. This kind of reminds me of a oh my god, what the +2/+0 when the creature dies comes back into play that you get in black all the time.
Yep.
But what's the name of that thing that they keep printing?
Like fake your own death kind of
Fake
card?
Your Own Death.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
So yeah. So in the sense that you get a small boost, you get to retain the creature's stat, right? In this
Right.
case, though, it's only a boost of 1.
Uh-huh.
You don't get the like treasure that fake your own death makes, and you need to have another commit. So I think fake your own death already being your baseline is not like a B level card. It's like a C minus or whatever. I think this is enough worse that the dream is just not realistic.
Yeah, so it's like a something D tier. Like not straight unplayable or anything, but yeah, no, not
Yeah,
not
I gave it a straight D. I wouldn't be surprised if I never put the deck.
Yeah, no, I would also not be surprised if you never put it in a deck. Next up we've got Queen of Ku, Gourmet. This is 2 and a green for a 2/3 legendary creature Ku. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus a 1/1 and green frog token are created instead. You'd also sacrifice a frog and pay 2 mana, put a +1/+1 counter on Quina.
Nice little card. There's a lot of token makers in the set.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're going to be making... There was a card like this in Lord of the Rings. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, when you make a token, you make another thing. It wasn't that good, but I think there's more tokens in this set running around. At common, at least.
Yeah, you end up a C plus for this. I gave it a C.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like a fairly supportive card. Oh, okay. So this is the talk of the town as far as the summons go. So we've got Summon Fenrir. This is 2 and a green for a 3/2 Saga creature. Chapter 1, search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Chapter 2, when you next cast a creature spell this turn, that creature enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. And Chapter 3, draw a card if you control the creature with the greatest power or tied with the greatest power. That's quite the package.
I think this would be fine if it was just like chapters 2 and 3 were blank.
Yeah, just like ramps you, trade it off at some point. And it's not
Yeah,
that. It's better.
it's better. You gave it a B plus. I gave it a B.
Nice. Great. Moving on to a quick one, I think. Reach the Horizon. This is 3 and a green, 4 mana for a sorcery. Search your library for 2 basic lands and or towns with different names. Put them on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. I could see this being a card. You're playing like blue-green. Maybe you've got a lot of expensive things. Maybe you're splashing a lot. Not generally going to be a card you play, though.
It's no encroaching. Set context matters. We both gave this one a D.
Yep. Next up is... Okay, here's the other side of the meld pair. So this is Vanille, Cheerful to See. 3 and a green for a 3/2. When it enters, you mill 2 cards. Then you return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. And this is the side of the card that gives you the flip condition. At the beginning of your first main phase, if you both own and control Vanille and a creature named Fang, Fearless Lassie, you may pay 3 black-green. If you do, you exile them, then meld them into Ragnarok, which is that, like, gigantic 7/7 menace, trample, reach, vigilance, haste, destroy something, reanimate something. Very good card. Like, obviously, you're going to do good things when that happens. But let's just evaluate Vanille, which is a 4 mana 3/2 mill 2 return permanent. That's just a great card on its own.
Yep. Not much more to say. Really happy with this. Both gave it a B.
Yeah, one awkward thing of note. I think I talked about this when we talked about Fang. But it looks like you can curve into the meld. You can't. You can go 3 into Vanille, but on 5, you actually have to wait till 6 because this triggers on your first main phase. So, awkward there.
Yeah, before you played your 5th land.
Basically. Yeah. Rydia's Return. This is 3 green for a sorcery. Choose one. Either creatures you control get +3/+3 until end turn, or you return up to 2 permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand.
Not really interested in this optionality. There's cheaper ways to do either of these things. I gave this a D. You gave it a D plus.
Yeah, and it's like if you're gonna play it, it's kind of only for the white-green deck, maybe red-green. Chocobo Racetrack is 3 green for an artifact. It has landfall. You make a Chocobo token.
I gave this an F. You gave it a D. So technically we have a 2-grade difference, but I don't think you really want to talk too much.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I saw somebody in chat earlier saying they saw this, like there's some early, I think the loading ready run event maybe. Some early access thing that people were playing in paper. and like it looks kind of real and sealed, but then obviously cards look more real and sealed and the games go longer. So I just think by this time you're just like not getting that much value out of the landfall. There's ways to enable landfall, like I mentioned, but you have to be making what, like 3 off of it? Yeah, probably 4 before you're happy, right? 4 tokens.
I think you're with me on this, but I grade the cards pretty much for the best of 1 arena ladder, which is faster than most formats on average, like in sealed or best of 3. So you have even less time to dirtle like this.
Yep. We've got Coliseum? Is it Coliseum? Yeah, Coliseum. Did they just say Coliseum? Am I reading wrong at this point in the set review? Please, Mark, tell me this is a Final Fantasy word, not a real word.
I thought this was Coliseum.
Oh, maybe it is.
I
don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe I can't even like parse it right now. Maybe I just can't read at this point. We're 4 hours in. This behemoth is a 7-mana 7/7 trample, and when it enters, you either draw a card or destroy target artifact or enchantment. Name aside, good effects. Is this better than like the 6-mana common big thing? I'm not sure, but I like the effects here.
We both graded it half grade worse. So you gave this a C+, I gave it a C.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair. I mean, big green thing that I think is fine to cast. So if you need to cast a big green thing. Diamond Weapon up next. 6 green for an 8/8. And it's a legendary creature or artifact creature. Costs 1 less for each permanent card in your graveyard. It has reach and prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to Diamond Weapon.
Did you say 7 green?
If I didn't, that's what it is. 7 green. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it won't end up costing that most of the time, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, the starting cost is 9 and it gets cheaper. I do believe that this is totally valid green-black payoff. We both gave it a C.
Cool. Yeah, that's how I see it too. And that's gonna bring us to the end of the green. So we've got some colorless cards, some lands to talk about at the end. But yeah, green thoughts.
I'm interested. I think like the balance of the set looks pretty good to me. All the color cards that kind of get me excited. There's like some rampy stuff, there's some trick stuff, there's some aggressive stuff, there's some value stuff, and got a little bit of everything.
Yeah, got a little bit of everything. I totally agree with that. And not in a way that I think it like fights with itself too much, like we have noted is sometimes an issue. Okay, yeah, so let me just bring up the colorless cards here. Starting with Lunatic Pandora. Single mana, legendary artifact, a common. That's very strange. A common legend. But it has 2 abilities here. 2 tap, surveil 1. Or 6 tap, sacrifice the Pandora and destroy target non-land permanent.
Not interested in either. You gave it a D, I gave it a D-.
Yeah, just like super clunky on both things does. World Map is a 1-mana artifact. You can pay 1, tap, sack it, look for a basic land, put it into your hand. Or 3 tap it, sack it, search for any land. No, it doesn't have to be a basic. Put it into your hand and shuffle. Inefficient for what it's doing, right? Like usually we want this to be like 1 mana, like 1 and 1. I mean, it's Traveler's Amulet, I guess. We play this from time to time, but 2 mana to go get a land is a hefty cost.
Yeah, I think Amulet's not good enough anymore. Like
No.
I kind of liked, was it Keys to the House, Keys to something from Duskborn, because it was an artifact in the graveyard and it had the ability to. But we both gave World Map a D.
Yep, agree. Monk's Fist is a 2-mana job select equipment. The creature gets +1/+0 and is a monk, and the equip cost is 2, so it's a 2/1. I mean, fine. Like I think if you are looking for an additional artifact, if you're looking for an additional equipment, it's probably okay.
Yeah, I like this better than the black one. Like just equip 2 versus equip 3 is
yeah,
especially on something that you're planning on moving around multiple times because it's just power, so the thing's gonna like trade off again.
Yeah, might be right.
We both gave it a C-, but yeah, I think this card's not embarrassing at all.
Nope. Instant Ramen. This is 2 mana for a flash artifact. When it enters, you draw a card, and you can pay 2 and tap, sack it, gain 3 life.
Card's gonna cause a lot of salt, Alex.
That's strike 3, Mark. We're not doing the rest. Good in black white? I don't know. Is that how you see this, or like playable there?
Yeah, I see the vision for it. We both gave it a D plus, so
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging that there is the odd spot for it.
Yep.
And part of that, yeah, part of that flash package goes to the graveyard for black white. Might have a couple of even.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of not a card you're just gonna play in any deck. Okay, here's an interesting one. So this is Blitzball. 3 mana artifact, manalith variant, taps to add a mana of any color. You can also tap sack it, draw 2 cards. Activate this only if an opponent was dealt combat damage by a legend this turn. And like we mentioned, there's a lot of legend in the set. I bring this up because the last 2 sets have had good manaliths. Cards that people underrated and eventually are like, oh, this card's actually pretty good. Being Starting Column and the Dragonstorm Globe. Do we think, should we learn from our mistakes and go, oh, you know what, actually let's start this one as probably going to be solid and going to be good in some places. I'm starting it there.
We both did indeed. You started it as a C, and I started it as a C minus.
We've got Magic Pot up next. This is 3 mana for a 1/4, and it's an artifact creature, of course. When it dies, you make a treasure token, and you also pay 2 mana to tap it and exile target card from a graveyard. Very strange card.
Not a good one. You gave it a D. I gave it a D minus.
Yep. Nothing too much to say about that. Adventurer's Airship is very much Smuggler's Copter at home. 3 mana for a 3/2 flying vehicle. When it attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. Crew 2.
Some were calling this Struggler's Copter.
Struggler's Copter. That's yeah, it's accurate.
I liked it. Yeah. Repeatable looting is still started this at a D plus. You gave it a C. Tons of these were half a grade lower
Mark.
than me.
Hopefully this is the last time. I'm gonna get you to repeat that what you just said.
All from where?
Basically like just grading, I guess, is probably where.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I gave this a D plus. You gave this a C minus, so another half grade higher for you. Repeatable looting is very valuable, but the numbers on this just tuned enough that I'm not sold it'll be consistently something you want.
Yep, agree on that. Iron Giants is a 7 mana 6/6 vigilant trample reach creature. I can't even like fathom why I would want to play this. Like, if you need a big dumb thing, and you like, I don't know, like if you need a big dumb thing, why did you draft a deck that needs a big dumb thing without having a better big dumb thing than this? You know.
I agree. You gave it an F, and I gave it a cowardly D minus.
Okay. Moving on to uncommons now. Elixir, single mana for an artifact. It enters tapped. 5, tap it, exile this artifact. Shuffle all non-land cards from your graveyard into your library. You gain life equal to the number of cards shuffled in this way. Okay, so like, that could be a lot of life. That could be, 11, 12, 13 life or something. Green-black, self-milling. You want a way to shuffle your cards back in. It's all non-lands, though. I actually, sorry, didn't catch that. But that's probably better. It's probably better than it's just the non-lands. I don't know. What do you make of this card?
It's less life, but it means more likely chance of gas to close out the game.
Which is what you want, yeah.
Yeah, 5 tap is a lot. I mean, it's like, for those who missed it, Sam Black announced that he's going to be stepping down from streaming. It's an unfortunate time, because I would have been curious to see what he would have done with it.
Yeah.
But for us mere mortals, I mean, you and I both gave it a D minus, so maybe there's a sliver of a chance, but I wouldn't be the brave one to try first.
Yeah, I totally agree. Pew Pew UFO. I think this is another curious card among many curious cards in this set. 2 mana for an 0/4 flying artifact creature. Tap it to put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. And also has the ability 3 mana. Until end of turn, this creature's base power becomes equal to the number of towns you control. Yeah, I kind of like this card.
I can tell. I gave it a D plus. You gave it a C plus.
Yeah, so this is like a synergy town C plus, but like, you're gonna have some card draw in your deck, so in your town's deck, so that, you're not gonna run out of lands. Presumably, there's also multiple cards in this format that help you hit your land drops. And then like, it's a good blocker, so passable one at least, like flying 0/4. It doesn't dissuade attacks, of course, but it blocks most early things. And then it like turns into a 3-power attacker or something. I don't know. Like that. You can also like it's not a sorcery speed ability. You can block and put your land in. Seems
Yeah,
like
you're kind of selling me on it, to be honest.
yeah. Triggers landfall at instant speed. I mean, I don't think that's going to be all that relevant for the deck that I would put this card in, but that's a great point.
Yeah, I could see this being somewhere in the C range. I don't know if I go up to C plus because
Yeah.
that's like a lot of decks are going to want it, and I don't think that's true.
No,
but...
no. I like C plus in blue green. You're like I think you're most often never like I don't think you're going to cut this card from blue green.
Sure.
Yeah. Ring of Lucy is 4 mana for a legendary artifact. Taps to add colorless. 2 tap, pay a life, tap target non-land permanent.
You're also 2 grades higher than this. I gave this a D minus. You gave this a D plus.
Yeah, the thought being, I think if you like, there's those like expensive rares that I called out earlier. If you have some of those, I think this could be a card you play. But
just more for the ramp than for the tapping.
Yeah, more for the ramp than the tapping, exactly. With like tapping being a fine thing to do after you've run out of things to do with your mana. Lionheart up next is a 4 mana equipment, and when it enters, it deals 2 damage to any target. The equipped creature gets +2/+1 and equip cost of 2. I like this card a decent amount. Like it's gonna kill a 2 or 3 drop. The equip cost is fairly cheap. Also goes to face.
I was at a D for this. I saw your grade it up to D plus, but I still didn't want to meet you at a C.
Yeah, I think that any deck with a high creature count, it's reasonably aggressive. It's just like fine playing this card generally. I don't know. I could see being a little clunky when to get it down sometimes. Maybe it's awkward if they just don't play anything, or you, they have like three toughness creatures lined up. But again, like creatures are fairly small in this set. All the job select stuff this kills. I don't know. I feel like your opponent's gonna be pretty sad when you cast this and you kill a 2-drop or 3-drop with it.
Yeah, that could be true.
Kills all the birds. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. Relentless X ATM 092. This is 6 mana for a 6/5 artifact creature. Can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures, so it kind of has super menace. And 8 mana, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped with a finality counter.
At instant speed too, which is nice.
Instant speed, yeah.
Yeah. You gave this a C minus. I gave this a D plus. So
yeah,
pretty similar.
Pretty close. Kind of just okay. Lands now. Crossroads Village is a town that is a variant of a card we've seen a ton of times. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a color. This thing enters tapped, and it taps for a mana of that color.
Yeah, so we've seen this before. It being a town is a meaningful upside. It's unfortunate they didn't give us Evolving Wilds to landfall, but still happy to take this. We both gave it a C plus.
Yep. And then we've got the town cycle, so 10 tapped lands that tap for 1 of 2 colors. Nothing special about them except they have the town type. And just to reiterate something I said earlier, you're going to find these in 55% of packs. 1 in the land slot and 55% of packs. The other time it's going to be like a basic land. So yeah, just good info to know for those drafting the town deck. We've also got, I think, 1 more here or 2 more. Yeah, a few more lands here.
We gave those all C's just for completion.
Oh, yeah. Gave them C's. Adventurers Inn is a colorless town that enters and gains 2 life. Not so into this. Colorless lands generally suck, but I don't know. Can you ever see yourself playing this?
This is what I was talking about when you have the rampant growth that searches for a town.
Yeah.
So if you already have your land counts play and get a rampant growth plus combat trick, I could see this. So I gave it a D plus, and you did as well.
Yeah. I think I like that. The answer to my own question is I could see playing it at some point. So it's not a straight F, but just really want to put that warning of colorless. Colorless sucks. A few more colorless lands here to close this out. Eden, Seat of the Sanctum, is another town. Taps to add colorless. Also has the ability 5 tap, mill 2 cards. Then you may sack this land, and if you do, return a permanent from your graveyard to your hand.
Eden is something that you gave a D. I gave again a D plus, just because I can again I can consider these like almost like silver bullets. You might be interested in just in having an untapped deck.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes. Golden Saucer is a town that says tap, add colorless. Also has the ability to tap, flip a coin. If you win the flip, create a treasure token. 3 tap, sack 2 artifacts, draw a card.
We both gave this one a D.
Yeah, just a little bit too much wheel spinning. Capital City, I believe, is our last land here. And yeah, last land here. So this is a colorless land. That's a town. And it says 1, tap it, add a mana of any color. So not a full colorless land, but naturally taps for colorless. It filters for a mana, and also has cycling for 2 mana. So better or worse than the Crystal Grotto variant of like comes in and surveils on this kind of filter land that we often see.
Right. So last card, I know everyone's, ready to pack up and go home, but interestingly, Naquam was looking forward to my review of this card specifically because of my love, conduit pylons and crystal.
Yeah.
So I promised I would talk about this for a couple seconds.
Sure.
I don't like this one. So to be clear, we kind of talked about this before, where having optionality on a card is not worth as much as it used to be, and having 2 minor effects stapled together is so much more impressive than it looks. So like the fact that you get the filter plus the surveil on all those other lands are the reason why I love them. The option to get either the filter land, which I don't like, or cycling ability, which I don't like, doesn't do it for me. So
right.
Much lower on Capital City. Still think it's the best untapped town land. So it's a card you'll play sometimes. Not nearly as happy about it. You gave it a C. I gave it a C minus.
Yeah, totally fair. Okay, well, that's it. That's all the commons and uncommons. We will be back on Thursday, so that means after early access. So Mark and I are both going to be playing in early access, so we'll get some reps with the cards. We might have a little segment at the beginning of Thursday where we go, hey, like this, we were low on this card or high on this card. We revise our grade just after playing with the cards, seeing some stuff in action. And we won't be covering the bonus sheet. I think I mentioned at the beginning, but just wanted to reiterate. It's just going to be a few too many cards for a bonus sheet that's not relevant in every single pack. I probably will put out some content later in the set, maybe a week or 2 in, covering a lot of the bonus cards, but not going to be for the set review. Of course, if you want to check out the tier list that will be posted with this episode, that does have all the grades, commons and commons rares, and also bonus sheet cards. Also Mark's skeletons for the archetypes we did at the beginning of today. You can check those out. Those are going to be posted in the description of the YouTube video and the podcast link. And also, they're a bit more fleshed out, too. There's some uncommons that we didn't get to talk about for those archetype skeletons. So if you want to check those out, do go do that. But I think that's going to be it. Mark, any final words for today?
Yeah, final words. So first of all, thank you. It's early access for me for the first time, mostly thanks to you, although there was one other person who actually recommended me as well, but I know you put my name for this, so super excited to take part in early access tomorrow. I don't, I'm not going to be streaming any of it, I don't expect, unless it's after work hours and I'm just able to jump on Discord for a bit, but I will be posting my thoughts on it on Twitter and Blue Sky. And again, for those, we'll be starting. It'll be 7:30 Eastern time, just due to some of my commitments, where we'll talk about some updated thoughts about the format and the rares and mythic. Looking forward to that. And until then, thanks so much for having me, Alex.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So everybody on YouTube, if you made it to the end, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all of that, and look forward for those rares and also a few other early access things I'll be posting. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.